Hello, this is Wmpyr. So recently I've been busting my butt helping my student get to, well, it's not get to. I wanted him to take the black belt test for my style, B1 Escrima. So that's the style that I made. And, when I say I made a style, that sounds arrogant, but the way I've said to you guys, the way that Filipino martial arts was taught to me, the first style, which was modern Arnis, Professor Remy Presas said, make it your own. So apparently he had learned the Arnis de Mano, the traditional style, and then he made it his own, and he called it modern Arnis. So he says, my modern Arnis should not be the same as your modern Arnis. So that's what I did. I made my own modern Arnis, and that's called B1 Escrima. And anyway, so my student over in Japan got to the level where I was like, this guy's at a black belt level. So, he's ready to take the test. I'm kind of a traditionalist in that sense where to me it takes 4 years to get a black belt. Well, this guy did this in 3. And, if I didn't think he was ready, I wouldn't ask him. And so normally I would have waited 4 years, but I mean, he's already there at that level. And in my eyes, he's been doing the extra mile. He's been, and look, this is online because he's in Japan, I'm in Texas. It to me, if you're online, it would take even longer because I'm not there in person. But this guy, like I said, he went the extra mile. He did really, really amazing in his training. And then so now I asked him to take this black belt test, and he finished it, and he got his black belt. So I'm super proud. I'm super happy. He's the first to get a black belt from me. Back in the day in San Antonio, when I had a school there, a martial arts studio, there were 2 guys, Mr. Randy and Mr. Wiley, and those 2 guys would have been equivalent to a black belt. I basically said, look, you guys are graduated. Goodbye. I didn't give them a black belt, but they were at that level because when they first came to my school, they wanted to become MMA fighters. They wanted to compete as soon as possible. They were like, whatever it takes. When you say we're ready, we want to go. We want to go compete. That's what we want to do. That's our goal. And you know what? Physically, they were at that level. And then it was just technically, do they have all the techniques? And their technique was very high already, but there were some things that I felt like I could add to their MMA techniques. But as far as just physical, they were way surpassed me. They were athletic. They were amazing. They were personal trainers, so they were super fit. And like I said, they had the technique and stuff. And so at the time, I was affiliated with an MMA gym, and I was like, you guys go there. If you want to compete, you guys should go there. And maybe they went once, or maybe it was just Randy. But anyway, they were both like, no, we want to train with you. We like you. And I don't know if they were saying that just to be nice, and they felt like they needed to be loyal. I wouldn't have felt like they were disloyal to me or anything. No, I'm the one that told them, no, if you guys really want MMA, you want to compete, because that gym, those guys compete. I train there, but I don't compete, but I was like, if that's what you want, go. I got the connection here. So, but they didn't want to. And then I felt in my head, I didn't tell them this, but in my head, I felt like they have the technique, so they could definitely learn the skill, but and physically they're ready. Mentally, I thought they were too nice. both of them. They're not fighters, and I don't want them to take offense to that, but I was like, so, some people are right as fighters. That's you know, and if you want to be a fighter just because you do have a dark side, everybody can have a dark side, and you're gonna let that out or whatever, and so fighting works for you. I don't think you'll really be happy that way. Um, and so for these two, I introduced them to the Russian martial arts. So basically, like Sistema. Not it wasn't Sistema. It was called Ross, but it's similar. Actually, historically, they're connected, from my understanding. But anyway, so they started doing that kind of thing, and they fell in love with it, and they started getting into it. And I encouraged them, and when they got to the point where their Russian martial arts knowledge surpassed mine, I was like, "You guys graduate. That's it. You found your calling. It wasn't to be an MMA fighter. It was to learn this stuff." And then when they surpassed me in it, I was like, I can't teach you guys now. You guys surpassed me. You guys are teaching me now. So that's when I was like, you guys are graduated. And I was really happy for them. So anyway, um, with my student over in Japan this time, this guy, I told him, hey, look, I want you to make it your own. So don't be a carbon copy of me. Don't be I'm a B1 Escrima affiliate program. There is no program like that. I don't do that. So, I was like, hey, be yourself. You if you need to use my name, that's fine. If someone asks you, where'd you get your black belt from and all that, then, please, that's what it's there for. B1 Escrima. That's why we did this, to make it official. But really, you teach what you want to teach. You teach your way, And if you use my stuff as a base, great. As an influence, great. But do you, not me, So I told him that he understands that, because I've said that a million times to him. So anyway, and he is doing his own stuff. So I'm super happy and proud of that, But so this time around, it's divided into three categories: assault, fighting, and self-defense. Why? Because to me, that's the three major types of combat. And if you don't understand the differences between the three, that means you're going to get them all mixed up. And in a real life situation, if you got it all mixed up, then you really don't know what you're doing. You're like, this just feels right, and you're going to do whatever. And that could land you in trouble, because our instinct is always to fight. That's the most natural of the three, is to fight. And, it's just, sometimes that is just not the answer. Because like I said, all three exist. And, if you're trying to fight during an assault, or if you're trying to fight in a defense situation, it's not going to work out, because that's not the proper tool. So anyway, the assault portion he completed. He's already done that kind of stuff, but this took it to another level. The testing, the black belt test. So obviously, if he hadn't been doing the right stuff, he wouldn't be ready for it. He wouldn't be prepared for it. But I knew he was well ready, well prepared. It's super dangerous. Actually, all three are dangerous, but assault may have been the most dangerous test out of the three. You do it by yourself, but it's super dangerous. So he bought a tire, and he went to town on the tire with life blades and stuff, and that's the assault skill. And it's extremely dangerous. So he beat that with honors. And then the second part was fighting. And we were very, very lucky, because there was another martial arts instructor. Man, this guy is an amazing martial arts instructor there, who's been a friend of mine, and also a training partner to my student. And so that instructor helped out for the remainder of the testing, and he became the partner. So in the fighting part, I needed to see if my student had the skills to be able to spar lightly. I don't care about who's going to win. That's not the point. So it's not like, hey, let me see you fight this guy. And if you can win, then you pass the fighting portion. No, I don't care about that. I don't care. I'm looking at skill. Some people are natural born fighters and they don't need, they don't need skill. They don't need martial arts, and they could just fight. So that I'm not interested in that because I can't help you with that. That's like you're born with or you're not. It's in your DNA or it was in the environment you grew up with. I have nothing to do with that. I'm here as a teacher to help you with skill. So skill-wise, if you cannot spar light, then I don't see how you're going to develop skill. If you could spar full contact and you could beat people up, then great. You're a natural born fighter and you probably won't progress much after that, because that's what you are already. But what I'm interested in is, can you become better than what you are now? And in order to do that, you need to be able to have the skill to control, light spar, respect your partners, not hurt your partners. Those kinds of things become super important. If you can't do that, then yeah, like if you're already like Ronda Rousey, that's awesome. You're amazing. But to move past that becomes extremely difficult if you cannot spar light. Okay. So he did that. They both showed me that. And so that was great. Nobody got hurt. There were plenty of opportunities to get hurt, but they didn't. So number 1's done. Number 2, fighting. So number 3 is self-defense. So this is the part this is like the core for B1 Escrima, is the defense. I'm all about the defense. So this is the final test. And he finished this and he did great. The first test was a single stick, force-to-force block, 3 minutes. And when I first teach the force-to-force block, because the way that I first learned it was to grab the stick with both hands, like a motorcycle handle or a bicycle handle, And what they did here, both of them didn't do that. They held the stick with one hand and the other hand was supporting the wrist. So it's more conventional Kali Escrima Arnis. And they did use the force-to-force block, and they did amazing. And to me, this is like the core for B1 Escrima. This is still not real life because, or real life ready, because from here we have one more step that takes it closer to being combat ready to use in real life, right? So this is more the practice for that. And but this is super essential practice. And to me, this is, other Filipino martial arts schools don't do this, and this drill that I came up with, to me, is, like I said, it's the core. It's so important. And I'm so happy to see them doing it. It made me proud. They said it was really hard. It was tough, because that's real life. It's tough, and it just made me, it made me very proud, very happy. And, I look at them doing this and I go, yep, this is the way to go. And then I look at other Filipino martial arts schools and I go, guys, you really need to evolve your stuff, and evolve is no disrespect to the original stuff. To me, the original is the textbook. And now when you start practicing with the textbook to make it your own, it should turn into this kind of stuff. I just don't see other people doing it. And, I feel like I honestly feel like they're masturbating to how good they look and how good it feels to get choreography down. And to me, that's not what real life application is about. So anyway, the next part was Heaven 6 partner drill with chaos. And Heaven 6 partner drill, anyone that does Filipino martial arts, they do it. But adding the element of chaos, to me, is so, so important, because you learn something. And in this case, what did they learn? They actually, most martial arts, you learn what you can do or what you want to do. And in this case, this is one of those times where you're learning what you can't do. So when you're doing Heaven 6, your mind is preoccupied making sure that you're doing the Heaven 6 correctly with your partner. You guys have to time that. And people get really good at it, and that's all great. But it's still a complex movement that you're doing. And then at that point, the chaos is, I don't know at what time, when the other guy is going to stab me at one point while we're doing this. That's the chaos. And then after they stab me and I have to defend against that, now I'm returning the favor to them. So they don't know when my attack's coming. And in the meantime, we're doing the Heaven 6. So that anticipation of not knowing when a stab is coming. And the stab could be anywhere. It could be anywhere on the body. It could be any angle, but it's a stab. Because I figure stab is a pretty basic attack. A lot of people do slashes, a lot of big slashes, big swing slashes, like haymakers. And a lot of people also come in to stab. So, that's why we added the stab in there. And it's different from the Heaven 6, because the Heaven 6 is all slashes, right? At least the normal Heaven 6. So that's why I added the stab. And from there, you understand that when you're doing the Heaven 6, you're in medium range. And if someone stabs you from medium range, you really don't have the time. You don't have the time. So understanding this, understanding that, hey, I don't have the time here is so important. So I don't care how good you are with whatever Filipino martial arts skills that you have, if you don't understand this simple concept that in medium range you don't have time to really be doing stuff, then you're living in a fantasy world. And this drill helps you understand that physically. It lets you understand that, that how difficult it is. And if an attack is coming at you, there's really not a whole lot you can do other than like the force-to-force block. So that's another thing. But anyway, the third partner drill was using the bag and using the force-to-force block technique with the bag to defend against a training knife attack. So the other guy is using a training knife and he's repeatedly going to attack you for 3 minutes nonstop straight. So they both said that it was really hard on the cardio. Your stamina gets depleted big time. And they also said that in the room, they felt like they were starting to run out of space. And you know what? This is also another one of those negatives where it's important to understand your limitations. So if someone says, well, what do you do if someone attacks you in an elevator with a knife? And this drill should teach you that it's not possible. You cannot use the force-to-force block to defend against someone who has a knife that's coming at you in the elevator. It's just not physically possible. So if it's difficult in a room, you could imagine, in a more confined space. So you really need to be in a big open space, like in a park or something. If not, you have to close the distance. And closing the distance is extremely hard. And like I said, medium range was hard. Imagine trying to get into close range. It only becomes harder. The closer you get, it becomes harder and harder and harder. So this kind of lets you know your limitations and starts to give you clues as to what you need to do going into close range. And so this is the one that I said is a more realistic than the single stick force-to-force block, because you're actually using a bag, because that's what you're actually going to use in real life. I walk around with a bag. I have a belt bag, a crossbody bag. That's what you're going to use. Ladies, you're going to have purses. That is good. That is the tool that you're going to use to protect yourself. It's going to be like your shield. And you're using the force-to-force block technique. That's the technique that you've been practicing. That's the technique that you've been putting into your into your arsenal this whole time. So that's what you're going to fall back on. That's what's going to come out. And it's a good technique because when I tested this with my own students back in the day, and I told them, here's a training knife, attack me whenever you want. Don't tell me when you're going to attack me, just attack me. And when they did, this is what came out, the force-to-force block. So that's why I selected it. It's the most natural. It's not the best technique, but it is the most natural. And in that sense, it makes it the best technique. So the last part was Sombrata, evolved Sombrata. So if you get the Sombrata, to me, the way that I view traditional Sombrata is I don't care how they're doing it, who's doing it. When I see every video I've seen, it's choreographed. Obviously, it is a pattern. And that, to me, is just simple, pure memorization. So if you're one of those people that suck at Sombrata, like me, I don't think it's a problem. It's just textbook, okay? So you learn that, but then how do we make it more realistic? To make it more realistic, you got to add more power. So when you add more power, then you start to realize there's no way you could do that drill with 60% or more power. It's just not possible. So when that happens, you also have to simplify it. So that right there is the lesson. Is if you're going to get whatever, I don't care if you're Balintawak or whatever style it is that you do, and you have a choreographed thing that you practice, which all Filipino martial arts people do, including me, B1 Escrima. We also, all this stuff, some of it's choreographed. But I always put in the element of chaos. And if you also put in the element of power, then you have to simplify. You have to. So my message out to the Filipino martial arts world is, look, I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. I'm saying if you want to make your stuff more combat ready, more ready for real life application, then this is the way to go. If there's a different way, please show me. Please show me. And if your answer is, well, we just spar full contact, to me, then you miss the point of Filipino martial arts. Filipino martial arts, the answer has already been given a long time ago, where they said partner drills is the answer. It's superior to sparring. It's safer, and you could get tons of reps, and you could work on a very specific skill that you're trying to develop. So, and I find this to be true even when I was doing like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA type of training. When I was training with people, it's like, how do we learn this skill? Well, you go into partner drills. You drill it. So I believe the Filipinos understood that. And I agree with them 100%, So you have to simplify and you have to increase the power. So once you do that, it will become more realistic. And if you do that, there's no way that you could do the normal traditional sombrata that everybody else does. So anyway, those are some things to think about. Yeah, that was the test that he went through, and I am proud of him for doing it. And there's no doubt in my mind, like if he went to another Filipino martial arts school and they looked at him and they said, what you're doing is not normal Filipino martial arts, I have no problem with that. I know it's not normal, and I'm proud of that, and I'd rather him be able to do like one or two techniques. So in this case, Heaven 6 force-to-force block, and maybe a couple other variations, but really that's what it comes down to. But he can do that extremely well. He could do that under chaos. He could do that under stress. That to me is way more important than having way more complex patterns, way more complex choreography, and being able to do that smooth. I don't care about that. I don't care how good you look. I don't care in comparison if we look ugly I'd rather be grounded to earth, and be able to use this stuff and to understand my limitations also, when I can use it, when I cannot. So I feel like he got a taste of that through this test. And also before that, his training previous, that led up to this test. So I have no regrets here giving him black belt. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.